At times, it seems like we spend half our lives behind the wheel, told when to go, when to stop, when not to turn, or to watch the walk. But long before we get on the open road, we have to open the doors to the MVD.
No, I can't use that. I need a bank statement or something to be normal.
Squeezed between testing your peepers and taking your picture is the multiple choice test that every person must complete. You have to answer at least 18 out of the 25 questions correctly to pass. But all of these questions are fairly simple, right? Well, apparently not for everyone. Last year, the MVD issued 93,000 of these driving tests, but only 51,000 people passed on their first try. That means 45% of the first-time takers do not pass. So we took the test to the street and got off to a surprisingly good start. Question 1. You must yield the right-of-way to an emergency vehicle by A, pulling off the road or as near to the right as possible, B, moving into the right lane and drive slowly until it is passed, or C, speeding up to clear traffic.
A.
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 Pull over to the side of the road?
Correct.
Yes.
Next question. You're driving down the road and you see a problem up ahead of you. You should warn the driver behind you by A, tapping on your brake pedal several times, B, turning on your emergency flashers, or C, sticking your arm out the window and waving up and down several times.
It's either 1 or 2.
Turning on your emergency B.
B as the correct response.
I'd say probably put on your emergency flashers.
That is incorrect.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Is it wrong too?
Maybe you should walk just to class from now on.
I'm a good driver though.
No, a good driver knows the answer is A.
Tapping your brakes?
Okay, how about this one? You have a multiple lane road with traffic going in the same direction, and there's a solid white line. That means that the driver should A, stay in his traffic lane, B, may pass, or C, may pass only if it's safe to do so.
A.
Unless it's a spaced white line, you should stay in the lane.
A solid line means you don't cross the line always, whether it's yellow or white or whatever.
Every person we talked to got that answer right. Why then are so many people still doing the wrong thing?
It's the Wild West. They can do whatever the heck they want.
The last question has to do with the weather. If the roadway is wet and your car starts to slide, you should A, slowly ease your foot off the gas, B, shift down to a lower gear, or C, pump the brakes quickly and firmly.
C. Pumping.
Wrong.
Wrong.
My answer was C.
The correct answer is A.
That's not good.
Probably pumping the brakes wouldn't help, so I guess I would have to go with A.
A.
You are 3 for 3.
Yay.
That's one driver who definitely knows the rules of the road.
Yeah, be careful out there.
Shelton Dotson, Eyewitness News 4.
The boy in this video is an autistic child who lives at a place called Camelot in southeast Albuquerque, a home where children like him receive 24-hour specialized care. But this 30-second cell phone video shows the brutal handling of the child by a staff member who comes in and knees him in the head.
Come on, do it! Do it! Come on, do it!
Albuquerque police asked for a copy of our video and have identified the man in the red shirt.
Well, the detective that has been assigned to the case has viewed the video and has determined that felony child abuse did occur and charges are being filed.
Even before we knew who the child was, we received a phone call to our newsroom from a woman who wanted to talk about what she called abuse of her son at Camelot.
Tonight, 4 investigators.
Jeremy Hohola found the state has serious issues with Camelot.
The woman saw our October report about Camelot when we highlighted a state investigation at the facility. The state documented what it called attacks and sexual behavior among the students because of a lack of supervision. The woman described her son to us. We showed her the video and she identified him. She then wanted to show us pictures she had of possible bruising on his body. We set up an interview, but she canceled 3 times. We received this surprising email from the mother saying, "I am very happy with the quality care my son receives at Camelot." The mother later told us someone hired by Camelot wrote that email for her and made her send it through her personal email account.
It's horrible. It's a horrible crime.
Camelot spokesperson Yvonne Gouroulet says the man who recorded this video and the abuser were fired months ago, but for incidents unrelated to this. We asked Gouroulet if Camelot tried influencing the mother not to talk about the abuse. She wouldn't answer. We learned Camelot did hire an outside public relations firm.
So no, you can't comment on whether someone at Camelot or someone with the PR agency crafted that letter for the mother?
I can't. It's all confidential information.
Gouroulet says the matter is being taken seriously and stresses Camelot is a safe agency that follows state requirements on employee background checks and training.
Yes, we are horrified. All of our staff were horrified and we're enraged that this occurred. And we're saddened, and our hearts go out to the family and the child involved in this. And we want these perpetrators to be caught, and we want them to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
As for the child, he remains in Camelot's care.
Do it! Do it!
You remember the drama. The state thinks Albuquerque's making too much money off red light cameras, so it tries to take money made from the fines. Mayor Marty shuts down the cameras in protest, then turns them back on a few days later. Finally, everyone agrees the city will keep enough to run the program. The rest goes to the state. Where exactly? Try the Metro Courthouse. So far, the city has transferred profits for the first 9 months of fiscal year 2009. The cameras netted about $5.5 million in that time. Roughly $1.3 million went to the state. 10% of that money, about $130,000, goes toward DWI drug court programs. The other 90%, or $1.1 million, goes to the New Mexico Finance Authority for the Metropolitan Courthouse Bond Guarantee Fund. That's where the money sits in case the state can't pay the loan for building the courthouse.
Basically, it's guaranteeing the payment on a loan. We do get payments for these bonds or loans that we issued from the Metropolitan Court, but this is amount to guarantee that if those payment revenues from Metropolitan Court were to fall short.
The money hasn't been touched since the state hasn't had a problem making the payment. We sat down with the director of the Administrative Office of the Courts, who handles the distribution of the funds. We asked why the money couldn't be used to fill the current hole in the budget, let's say for education.
I have a lot of ideas about how to answer that question, but the real answer lies with the legislators. They passed a statute to take the money and put it toward these two uses, the bond fund and DWI drug courts.
And there's been another change this year for the red light camera money. The bill states from here on out, the city and state split the profits 50-50. The city's share going to traffic safety programs and other costs. Artie Pepin says these laws were written before the massive $650 million budget shortfall appeared. And while the red light camera money would be just a drop in the bucket, where the money ends up could still be changed.
It's completely in the hands of the legislature. They changed the statute in 2008. They changed it again in 2009. I haven't heard anything about them changing it in the 2010 session, but they could.
Mayor-elect Richard Berry.
In Cibola County, 7 employees were laid off in July because of the budget deficit. But that didn't stop Commissioner Lloyd Felipe from flying to Reno with his wife on the county dime the same month. We found their $400 plane tickets and their hotel bill from Reno's Grand Sierra Resort for a 6-night stay costing taxpayers $1,000. Records show Felipe turned in a receipt for a $164 steak dinner. And that's not all. Using the county's credit card, we found Commissioner Felipe stopped by this Reno sporting goods store, bought golf balls, a hat, sunglasses, and a $50 polo too. The total, $146. On his expense report, he wrote he needed it because he lost his luggage. Felipe was in Reno with his wife for a government conference. He refused to answer any of our questions about the trip. In March, Cibola's county manager, the county receptionist, And 3 county commissioners also went to Washington, D.C. for a government conference. Taxpayers covered the $17,000 trip for them and 2 of their wives. Commissioner Walter Jaramillo's wife, Romanita, and the wife of Commissioner Antonio Gallegos, Susie, who is a deputy county clerk. The commissioners and the county managers say the D.C. trip helped secure stimulus money, and it paid for things like this $3 million bridge for school buses and grants. Commissioner Gallegos says his wife went because she's a deputy clerk and that she attended the conference. He also says that they actually saved taxpayers' money.
We save money for the company because she's got the right to get her own room and her own per diem, but she didn't. She slept in my room.
Commissioner Walter Jaramillo says his wife went because she works in the billing department of a private physical therapy clinic and wanted to talk to a congressman about health care. But Jaramillo's wife is not a county employee.
Do you think taxpayers of this county would find it appropriate that your wife went along on this trip?
I don't know. I mean, they know what we do in this county. They know, you know, we're a 5th generation in this county, so they know myself and my wife. And actually, the county didn't. They initially paid for it, but that's why it's called a reimbursement.
Jaramillo says he reimbursed the county $800 for his wife's plane ticket and meals, but he didn't cut a check until after we asked, 7 months after the trip. Jaramillo and the others who went to D.C. also have to reimburse the county more than $2,000 because some of their pricey meals. Like at the Lebanese Taverna, a meal for each of them cost $62. They turned in a receipt for $375 that you paid for. We reached County Manager Scott Vincent by phone and asked about the high-dollar meal.
That's pretty common, Jeremy. You know, in D.C., we have a $45 limit on meals, and as you're aware, anytime you travel outside the state to a place like D.C., you're not going to be able to eat for $45 a day unless you eat at McDonald's.
Is this an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
Absolutely not. These transactions are not allowed.
State Auditor Hector Balderas says the wives' expenses was like a no-interest loan given to private citizens using tax dollars. His office is now looking at the spending.
Is it fair to say it's potentially that they broke the law here?
Absolutely. This is an inappropriate transaction, and the auditors will be testing with more scrutiny because of this type of transaction.
We caught up with the chairman of the commission, Edward Michael. He apologized about the reimbursements taking so long.
I asked 4 times where we were at on this thing, okay? And I was assured that everything was taken care of. Well, lo and behold, I wouldn't be talking to you if they were all taken care of.
Behind the beeps and the blips, you hope that's the sound of accuracy. But not always. We spent weeks looking over inspection reports of thousands of New Mexico grocery store scanners. They're inspected by people like Kelly Chavez of the state's agriculture department.
So what we're looking for is we're looking for pricing integrity between what's advertised on the shelf price and what is actually being scanned at the register.
Inspectors select random items from the shelves, sometimes up to 100 items at the bigger stores, and take the items to be scanned and tested at the register.
We found a handful of stores around New Mexico that were accurate only 80% of the time, meaning 1 out of every 5 items an inspector scanned at the register had the wrong price. We also found dozens of scanners in the state only 90% accurate.
Passing is 98%, so anything that's below 98% is not a passing store.
Among the worst, a grocery store scanner in the East Mountains that only had 72% accuracy, and a Kmart in Roswell that only had 69% accuracy.
Some stores will have 30,000 price changes a week. So when you're looking at that and they're constantly changing their batches, then there are going to be errors.
Chavez can't explain why some stores have high error rates. It depends on the store management, she says.
It gives us a chance to really to double check our accuracy.
279, 279.
Grocery store manager Mark Lane tells us it takes a huge amount of effort to make sure human error does not make its way into his scanners. Attention to detail is key in inputting prices. His store, La Montanita Co-op in Nob Hill, has been 100% accurate 2 years in a row.
In this day of tough economy and everything, every penny counts.